Hello, and welcome to the Drawn Deeper podcast. I'm your host, Katherine Babcock, and today we are going to discuss This Beautiful Truth, a book by Sarah Clarkson, all about how God's goodness breaks through our darkness. This read was such a joy. So many emotions I felt reading it. It's just so beautiful. Sarah is such a beautiful poetic form of writing. And it's just really raw. She was very honest about her experience and the struggles that she went through, but also really honest about how God found her in those struggles and how he met her in that darkness. And he met her in that darkness with beauty. And I think that is so true for so many of us that, in our depths of despair, in those moments of the dark night of the soul, there's those little flickers of God's love, and it's usually through beauty. Like you're driving home after a rough day or whatever, and the stars are just impeccable, and it's just like, yeah, there he is. Or you're walking along a path while you have to go face something, and there's, little bumblebees buzzing in the flowers, and it's like, yeah, there he is. And those little moments of beauty that break through and remind us like, hey, like I'm here. I love you. I love you so much. I love you so much. I created you in my image. And in doing that, I also, he loved us enough to sacrifice his son to save us. Like that, do you ever question how much God loves you? Honestly, look to the cross and look to Jesus. It's so beautiful. Anyways, I digress. Back to the book. So I love this book. It's all about that. So I'm going to read some lines out of here because it's just too good not to read some. And the lines are just so beautiful. So beauty came, ever ancient, ever new, dragging a fierce loveliness into the ruins of my heart. Like Sarah, so good. And I just love that she speaks into that darkness and doesn't shy about sharing that with us either. And so it really truly shows that valley that she was in and how God had found her there. And I love anyone that can be really raw and honest. I think everybody is kind of drawn to that. And I think that's because, I think that's what we look for. And beauty is truth. And she goes into that more so. And so there's a couple other quotes I want to share. I'm trying not to just read from the book because that's probably a little boring for you guys, but go buy it and read it. I'm going to share this one. I saw a star and its light was like something woven of hope and music. And the shimmer of it was a voice crying out to my spirit to keep hold, to take joy. And for a moment, the whole of my suffering seemed unmade. The darkness became the false thing, and the joy of that light, it was the truest thing I had ever known, because beauty calls to us with the voice of God. Yes. Oh my gosh, just reading that gives me goosebumps because I just could not agree more. And even I think about my own life and my own struggles that I have, and recently we've been going through some stuff, and just remembering to pause and glimpse at the little messages of God's love through beauty. And I love the way that she just writes that, he just kind of breaks through and meets her there and then pulls her out of it. And I think that is true. You think of Psalm 23, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I fear no evil because you are there. You are with me. And he is with us through all of that. And I think that is such a beautiful reminder in this book to keep that in your mind and remember that. And he meets us in our darkness, and that, I love it. I just want to keep reading to you guys around this book because I really love it. It's amazing. Darkness and silence, how swiftly the terror is drained from them by the remaking presence of love. A lot of what she speaks about is God loving us through the beautiful. And so I kind of feel like I'm on my soapbox when I talk about it all the time, but I've always been drawn to beautiful things. As an artist, I'm a painter, so I naturally am drawn to beautiful landscapes and natural beauty, but also beautiful music and beautiful architecture. And there's so much beauty. And I think the reason we get drawn to beauty, for those of us that are drawn to it, is because, being one of the transcendentals, it pulls us towards good and truth, goodness and truth. And in that, it draws us closer to God. So true ordered beauty is a reflection of God, and it calls us towards him because it's a reminder of who he is. He is the ultimate creator. He is first an artist before he was anything. When I read Genesis chapter 1 and it talks about how he pulled things out of the earth or created the earth. I, in my mind, imagine a canvas or a sculptor and just like creating these things. And I think that is honest. I don't know if that's in my mind. That's how he did it. I just think it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful to imagine him doing that. And then when he came to create Adam and then Eve and how he breathed life into us, we have the breath of God within us. And that is so profoundly beautiful. And so by being here and seeing his love through beauty, and then in turn creating more things that are beautiful that honor him, like that, I think is the ultimate. I mean, for me, for sure, it's like, I love that. That's the ultimate form of praise for me. I want to paint for you. Lord, I want to sing for you. I want to do it all for you, because I want others to find you through that. And like, she does speak about that in the book. And it's one of my favorite lines when she talks about how, like, by the painter painting, I'm going to do it injustice, but I'll read you the quote anyway. You know, it ignites the musician to write the song, which then in turn, you know, it helps the author to write the poem, and like all these different things. Like, we trigger each other's creativity, which in turn creates more beauty in the world. We want a second Renaissance. We want to see architecture that, you know, makes you gasp because it's so beautiful. And, you know, thinking of that, like, I remember when we went to the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe a couple Octobers ago for our 10-year wedding anniversary. And I remember, like, the new basilica is nice. It's, you know, nothing to not be impressed by. And like the tilima is in there. But it was when I walked into the original basilica and you've got this, oh my gosh, this beautiful building. You walk in and you just like, my eyes were just like, wow. And I just wanted to weep because of the beauty and the love and the care that went into creating it. Like mosaic ceilings and beautiful arches. And like, oh man, I remember the Stations of the Cross were all done in mosaic tiles. Like, it was incredible. And you got paintings that are like 10 feet by 14 feet and they're huge and they're all depicting the different miracles of the tilima. And to me, like, that's what I want to experience all the time. I just want to draw to God in beauty all day, every day. And like, when it gets to the point where it just makes you want to weep because it's so beautiful. And it's just like those moments when you just feel that much closer to him. And I think that is something that our world needs more of. I am totally on a tangent and I've been talking about the book. Sorry about that. This is what happens with me. I go on tangents, but I'm a quote again a little bit more. So here we go. This is beautiful. I love that. For God works and weaves a beauty we can't imagine. He comes to heal, and it may look different than we imagined, but his goodness is always on its way. Good is always being crafted for us, and we are being led step by step into the light. And I think that was probably one of my favorite sections of this book, is when she does talk about meeting her in the darkness and then pulling her out of the darkness, which I thought I had bookmarked in here, but maybe I didn't. You'll have to read it now. And I just really enjoyed hearing someone else's story of darkness and how God found them in that, and understanding like, hey, it's okay to be in darkness. It's not great. Obviously don't want to be, but like knowing that the light will break through. And you think about this, like, you have to douse every bit of light to get to darkness. Like, there can't be any, but you light a candle and it breaks through that darkness. And like, it makes me think of Easter Vigil, which she talks about in this book. So as a Catholic, we on Easter Vigil start Mass in darkness. And it's because, you know, Jesus is dead. He's not risen from the dead yet. And then we go outside and we bless the fire, and then everyone has candles, and then they slowly like light the church with the candles. And it is like, it's my favorite. I love that Mass every year. It's the one I look forward to because it's just such a beautiful description of how he breaks through our darkness. And then we're all standing there in candlelight and we're singing. And there's just something so beautiful about that aspect. And then, you know, eventually after we turn all the lights on and it's praise and it's glorious. You ever experienced it? Go give it a go. And that's what, I really love that too. So we are called by love to be lovers. And this is one of the great works by which the beauty of God heals a broken world. And that is like, yeah, I love it. It's so good. That is something that like I definitely have to say that there is a lot of healing that can happen through beauty. And for myself in particular, in my own journey, I know I spoke about it a bit in my introduction video, but art and creating really is a healing pathway for me. And it always has been. And it is today, and it probably will be my entire life. where, every time I've struggled, every time I felt like life was too much, if I turn to that canvas and I create, I feel this release. And it's probably because I'm drawn closer to God through that method. Because to me, creating art is prayer. That is a form of glorifying, and a form of being in union with Him, especially when you call the Holy Spirit to be present through that experience. And so when I was pregnant with my fourth child and suffering pretty badly with prenatal depression and really struggling because I had 3.5-year-old twin boys that were just wild, and my daughter was having, oh my gosh, she would have been like almost eight. And so, she was balancing life, and she was kind of struggling in school at the time, and life was hard. And then you add in all the hormonal craziness of being pregnant and being, accepting these aspects of your life. And I remember just like, I thank Tyson every day for the encouragement that he gave me in that time of just like, here, nudge back into that art world that you once were part of. And I've always been very passionate about being an artist. And so when I was able to head back into that space and actually be present, that made a huge difference for me. And that was me meeting God in, Him coming to find me, I should say, in my darkness. And then very, very slowly, He has pulled me closer and closer into that light. And to the point now where it's like, I can't shut up about it. So I just want other people to experience that, because I truly, truly believe that everybody can be an artist. But how you are an artist is what you get to decide, or what gifts God has given you in that form of artistry. Because not everybody's a painter. Not everybody's a sculptor. Not everybody is a poet. Not everybody is a musician or a singer. Like, we all have been given these beautiful, unique gifts and ways of being creative and beautiful. And I think that is, part of our mission in life is to discover what that actually is. How do I want to praise God through the creative ability that He's given me? Because we are created by the Creator in His image, therefore we have to be creative. There's no other way around it. So come on, we got to accept that. For me, every time I've turned to painting in those times of desperation, even, in current states of my life now, it's like I long to just, log in, get into the flow with the Holy Spirit and just create beauty. And just allow that pain to come through. And I think that's what I really resonated with this book too, is that Sarah is so raw, and you could tell that she's pouring her heart into what she's done here. And I think that's when we connect with things the most. You look at paintings, of the big masters or whoever, and it's the ones that you really connect with are the ones that are just pure and true. And honestly, they were probably going through hell, and that's when they created that piece. And there's something in that you just it's almost like your soul connects. It's a weird experience, because I definitely have felt that. And even when I was in art college, I remember it was first year painting class, and I loved my professor. He was lovely. And we were doing portraits. So I've never really liked painting people. I'm slowly getting there. But I remember him being like, okay, we got to do portraits, but do it in a different type of reflection. Don't just sit in the mirror, make it something interesting. I was like, okay. So I chose a spoon and I painted it, and it was in oils, which I love oils, but not this time in my life. I will get back there. And so I did this painting, and it actually turned out pretty good. I was impressed with myself. He, my professor was like, yeah, you did great. This is a great piece. But compared to the portrait I'd painted earlier in that semester, it was night and day difference. And he's like, I can feel that you felt this. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's creepy. How do you know? And it's because at that time I had some relationship issues, and I was in this inner turmoil. My heart was struggling. And then I was able to actually pop that out onto the canvas. And I think that is when you are really honest about what you create, and you're not selling out, and you're not trying to do art to, appease the galleries or the collectives or any of that. You're being true to who you are as an artist in whatever form that is. That is when people connect with your pieces. That is when people really are oh, man, I think about music. Mozart, or even Vivaldi's, some of the greatest composers and greatest pieces of music ever. What were they feeling? And I mean, I've always resonated with Beethoven, because he's the minor chords, and a bit of he was probably a grumpy person, but he also had a really hard life. And so I think, again, there's that example of pouring your pain into your craft and having that be a part of your story, but then also allowing God to find you in that. And that is ooh, that's powerful. I think that's really powerful because it also is a testimony to who we are and who he is, like who we are in his image. And that is stunning. So back to the book. There's a little more I want to read from this because this is just too beautiful not to share with you guys. When sorrow has made us incapable of imagining a good future, when grief has diminished our world, then art, music, film, and story break in upon us as agents of rescue, cutting our imaginations free from despair, helping us to our feet where we can see out the window of our minds into the far lands of hope once more. Like, seriously, come on. It's so beautiful. Like, beauty is an agent of rescue. Like, that is, oh, I love it. It's juicy. It's so good. I'm not done reading it. But once that beauty has come to us, what does it require of us? Beauty calls us to create. For the breaking of the world, we were formed in the image of an artist God, whose first acts in time were those of profound and beautiful creation. To be made in his image and redeemed by his love is, inescapably, to be called to creation. Craft and form, to fill or beautify, these are labors not only of artists, but of those remade by love, partnered with their creator in the healing of the world. Yes, exactly what I was just kind of saying, but way more beautifully written than what I was saying. Because again, she has been gifted with the gift of words. Not so much. So yeah, I love that. And then again, this is my last part I'm going to share with you guys because this part to me, like, actually, I'm keeping my little tag in there because it's good. This was the one part in the book that I was like, yes, like, thank you. Because again, once, we've created and we had to have our creations out there in the world, glorifying God, like, then what? What are we called to do with that? What are we going to do after that? So this is what I love because it is a ripple effect. And she writes it so good, so beautifully. So every work of art reaches out across the centuries, and each is a vision that casts a flame into the darkness. The wonder is that one great light wakes another. The song of one awakens the story of another. The story she told became the poem he made that kindled the painting in yet another's hands. Each is a work of obedience. No artist can cast their flame of vision without a twinge of fear that it will simply fade or even pass unseen. But each is also a work of generosity, precious, private worlds offered in a self-forgetfulness that pushes aside vanity, insecurity, and perfectionistic pride. The visions set forth in the books and paintings and songs we turn to for hope are offerings of love. I can't agree more when I think about that in my own journey with art and how God has kind of called me very slowly towards him, because I really struggled with that, having gone to an art college where, tampons and weird things are in every single piece of art in the gallery, and even galleries today, like the modern art movement, and how things are just kind of almost like a mockery of beauty rather than an actual thing that's beautiful. And so again, I've kind of felt like, how do I find God in this? Like, where are you? How do you want me to come forward? And like, he was very gentle because he needed to be, because otherwise I get, my back up against a wall, I'm a fight. But he was very gentle about leading me, very slowly, obviously, to my husband, who then helps me, through postpartum depression and prenatal depression to find my voice as an artist again. And then through the Beloved Women's Retreats to be able to lead art classes, so to speak, and prayerful painting is what we call it. And that was a really, really beautiful gift. And that just, so much of my heart is in that. And now it's just like, okay, Lord, like, keep leading me. I am willing to go wherever you lead me. So bottom line, you guys got to read this book. Thank you, Sarah Clarkson, for bringing this to the world, because I am so blown away with how beautiful it is. And it's just a really good gift. The story of him breaking through our darkness with beauty is just so beautiful. And I think a lot of us have experienced that in one way or another. And yeah, I really love that. I really do love that because it's so true. So thank you so much for joining me today as I babbled and talked about everything and anything and diverged in about 80,000 paths. I did not take my ADHD medication today. So thank you. And I'll see you guys next time on the Drawn Deeper podcast.